Good morning, everyone. We're going to start today's session. So before that, I would like to recap previous session. Previous session, we wanted to see the practical for how to create a data source in RSO2, how to replicate data sources to BW using RSDS T code. Once we activate data source, PSA table is generated. PSA is the inbound layer of data source. That is until the part 1 exercise, and then creating info package and executing the info package and data available in the PSA. So part 2, we started from building of metadata inside the BW system. For that, we created info areas. Info areas are like package in Hana. Catalog. Catalog is a grouping of info objects. Info objects is of two types: character info objects, key figure info object. Character info object store master data. Key figure info object store transaction data. So we created two info objects of type characteristics and two info objects of type key figure. So once we complete this, then we wanted to create an info provider which provides information. We wanted to create info provider of type data store object, which can store data on a transaction level. So today I'm going to proceed with the exercise that we created on Friday until the creation of info objects, which are the basic building blocks to create the data warehousing solution. I'm going to use the building blocks to create the DSO. So I'll go back to BW. So here you have one system which is EHP7, and the top you see BW74 on Hana. So this is BW on Hana, and this is, we have BW on the MS SQL. Let me double click on EHP7, provide the username and password, enter the T code RSA1, click enter. With the info providers, if you expand the info area, you see we do not have any info providers. Click on info objects. The other day we created these info objects. Company code, sales organization, gross revenue, and sales deductions. Now I'm going to create a DSO. We're going to create a DSO. that consists of company code ID, the sales org ID, gross revenue, and sales deductions. So using these info objects of type characters and key figures, I'm going to create data store object. So this is the data source at the bottom. So inside the data source, so this is the data source. Inside the data source you have PSA. Excuse me. So how will data come from PSA to DSO? Using an object called DTP, data transfer process. This is the object that used to transfer data from PSA to the DSO. So how will data come from ECC system to PSA? ECC system to PSA, we have an object called info package. We have info package. So using info package, we can get data from ECC to, we can get data from ECC to PSA by executing this info package. And once data come here, from here to here, info package, once the data arrives here, from here to gets to the DSO using DTP. So I'm going to create this now. Let us create data store object by using these basic building blocks. I'm going back, click on info provider. So we need to remember these technical names: ZBUKRS, ZVKORG, ZVV010, ZVV070. So when creating this info provider, when you right click on the info area, click create data store object. Let us give a name for the DSO, DSO COPA. COPA data store object, and click create. Once you click create, here you see key fields and data field. Key field is nothing but the primary key of the table, or key field is similar to key attribute in an attribute view. You need to have at least one key attribute, or in the table you need to have at least one key. The same way, when creating a company code, when creating a DS of a COPA, so how many objects we have? 4 info objects. These are measures. One is the company code and the other one is the sales organization. In this both, I would like to take company code as the key. This is the key of the DSO. I'll go back. Right click on the key field. Click info object direct input. We have to insert info objects here. I'm going to enter this info object. The info object technical name is JetBUKRS. Click enter. So here we have when you expand this, here you see JetBUKRS. In the data field, I'll take non-key field, means which are not the key of the table. So how many objects we have? Non-key objects: sales org ID, gross, sales deductions. I'll go back to the DSO. I'll right click on the data fields, click info object direct input, enter ZVKORG, enter one info object, right click on the data field again, info object direct input, ZVV010 and ZVV070, and click continue. So we have sales org, gross revenue and sales deductions, and here you have the key field, and click activate. So we are activating this object. So once you give all these details, key fields and data fields, we are activating this object. Once this object is activated, now you see there is a DSO created. So this is the object that indicates that this is a DSO. The cylinder-like icon. So we created this DSO. And we have a data source. On the other day, we had an issue with the RFC connection. RFC communication is between ECC and data source. If we want to replicate the ECC data source to BW, so this is BW system. This is on the BW side, and this is on the ECC side. This is source, and BW is the target. So we had a communication issue in the RFC. So I'll go back. So basically what I've done is, what I'm trying to say here is, I have my data store object ready, where I do not have a data source. So in the part 1 exercise, when creating the exercise for part 1, the data source PSA and data inside the PSA by using info package. We need to make this ready. So once this is ready, in the part 2 we created this. We finished the part 1, so these are individual activities. So I completed my part 2 by creating info objects, by using this building blocks. I created a DSO, and now in the part 1 we need to duplicate data source to BW. I need to link a data source with data store object using a bridge. I need to create a bridge between them. This bridge is known as transformation. You need to have an object where you can connect DSO, where you can connect data source. For both of these objects to connect, we need transformation. So transformation is the object that is used to connect both source and target. So let us complete this part 1 of the exercise to replicate the data source to BW. I'll create session. Click on create session. Enter the T code. RSO2. The other day we created this data source, which is get C1 COPA table underscore DS. Click display. This is the data source I created using RSO2. Create session. We wanted to check this data source RSA3. RSA3 is to test this data source. Provide the data source name. Provide the data source name. Click execute. We have 6 data records selected. Click on ALV grid. So this is the data source. This data source I want to replicate to BW. Enter the T code RSA1. Enter. Click on source systems. Right click on the source system. Click check. Once you click check, the source system connection T90 CLNT090 is OK. It means that the RFC connection is functioning between source system and BW system. So double click on the source system. Once you double click on the source system, the other day we allocated this data source. You see, to an application component called COPA. So the same application component is also available in BW. So once you click on source system, please see, double click on the source system, automatically from source system it moves to data source. Expand application component, and here you need to navigate to expand SAP R by 3. Expand controlling. Here you have COPA. Right click on COPA and replicate metadata. Once I click on replicate metadata, continue. In background, so I'm going to create BW data source. Click continue. So it's basically searching. It's searching the source. So in search, you have basically there are different data sources over here. So I don't want all of these data sources. So here you have something called unselect, deselect all. Click on deselect all. The one that I created was this JetC1 COPA table. And this is the one I created. JetC1 COPA table underscore DS. So I'll select this and click continue. Once I click continue, you can scroll to the bottom. So here we have ZC1 COPA table underscore DS. Select this, right click and click change. So once you change, you have to first activate this data source. In order to activate this data source, click activate. Once you click activate, once we click activate the data source, the data source is active. Now once the data source is active, data source is created. Right click on the data source, click on create info package. Click on create info package. Copy the technical name. Provide the description. Click save. Click schedule and click start. So basically click schedule and click start. Once you click start, data was requested. So what are we doing here? We have a data source ready in the BW. We replicated. We have the info package ready. We executed the info package. Info package, we go to the ECC, get data from ECC and put the data into the PSA. Now let us check the PSA inside the data source. So to check this, I'll go back, right click on the data source and click manage. So once you click manage, so here you can see what data source, what is the request. It's taking time. So here you see, once you click manage, this is the PSA table. You click again, select, right click, click manage. So this is the PSA. The PSA is inside the data source /BIC/B. This is the name of the PSA table. This is just like logging table in SLT. In order to see data inside this table, just click on this green symbol. You have 6 records. Select these records. Click on PSA, maintenance. Click on this. Now you see there is no data inside the PSA. But you see the data records. You have the data records, 6 records, but there is no data inside the PSA. This is DXE. In the regular BW method, you'll have data transferred to the PSA. But here, the data is bypass. In the regular method, the data will be inside the PSA. Because the DXE is enabled, if DXE is not enabled, data is inside PSA. If DXE is enabled, where is data? Data is in Hana. So usually, this is the process to move data into the data store object. But because of DXE, which is enabled, the data is in Hana. So let us check both the methods. So because data did not come to PSA, data is available in Hana. How did data available in Hana? Using HTTP connection. So let us check where data is available in Hana. So in order to check this tables in Hana, let's go to Hana Studio, click All Program, SAP Hana, click Hana Studio. So once we go to the inside Hana Studio, let us log into system. Provide the username and password. And click OK. Once you click OK, expand catalog. DXE is configured DXE is configured to a schema. So what is the data source name? Please see, our data source name is JED C1 COPA table underscore DS. With the same name of the data source, with the same name as the data source, then you right click on the catalog, click find tables, copy paste the data source name. Now here there are 5 tables that are generated by system. So I'll go back. There are 5 tables that are created in Hana. Like how you have a data store object in BW, Hana also has an object called data store object. Both names are same. You can create a data store object in BW. You can also create a data store object in Hana. Inside Hana, there is a data store object. The data store object consists of 5 tables: 00, 40, 70, 80, AO. So there are basically 5 tables in Hana: 00, 40, 70, 80 and AO. 00 is known as the active data table. 40 is known as activation queue table. Activation queue table, active data table. 70, 80 AO are known as control tables. When the DXE is enabled, whatever the data, when I execute using info package, the data should be available in PSA. It shows 6 records, but data is not available here. The 6 records that it shows here, this is for Hana. So once the info package is created, the data is transferred using a HTTP connection to Hana. Inside Hana, 5 tables are generated. So I'll go back to Hana. You see these 5 tables: 00, 40, 70, 80 and AO. So all these are the 5 tables that are created by system. And this is available in R3TR, R3T schema 1. So how do you know whether only in this schema DXE is configured? You can see in the T code RSAdmin. There is a T code called RSAdmin. There is a table called RSAdmin. Inside the table, whenever a data source in BW is activated, the data source should create the tables in this schema. This is already configured. So I'm basically highlighting a point. How does system know that it needs to create. If I go to SE11, click enter. Let's go to RS admin. Click display. This table is for data import administrative settings. Click contents. Click execute. Please here. You have a property called PSA to HDB schema. If you set PSA to HDB schema as the name of the schema is R3TS schema 1, it means that whenever you activate data sources in BW, these data sources create tables in Hana. So I'll go to this schema R3T schema 1. I'll go to Hana. You see R3T schema 1. I'll expand R3T schema 1. Expand tables. Right click on the tables. Click filters. Give the data source name. Click OK. You see these are the 5 tables that are created by system. So by default, you will not have data inside these tables. By default, data is not available in tables. Because we executed the info package, when I right click on 00 table, open data preview, you see this is the data in the 00 table. So this is the data I have in the 00 table, which is nothing but this data I have in the ECC system. I click create session, SE11, enter, give the table name, JC1 COPA table, click display, click contents, and click execute. So this is the data I have in the ECC. And this is the data in the HANA system. Basically, both the data is same. Data in the ECC and data in HANA is same. But let's say you make any changes. For example, for the record 500, the gross revenue is 30. So for record 500, the gross revenue is 30. I click change. I change this 30 to 100. Instead of 30, I make a change to 100. I click save. Now, how will this 30 become 100 in HANA? Please see, when I refresh, it doesn't change because this is not real time. Like SLT, when you make a change in the source system, the data is immediately available in HANA. But here, because this is not real time, you cannot see the change instantly. In order to see this change, again we need to execute info package. Again I need to go to the info package. I click back. Here I have only one request. I'll click close. Again I'm back to BW. I'll double click on the info package. At the schedule tab, click start. So once you click start, again right click on the data source, click manage, and here you see the request. Click on this request. So now again it is done a full load. It brings all the data again. But again I go back to Hana. So this time it is 30. When I refresh now, for 500 it becomes 100. So we need to execute info package in the BW system for the data in Hana to get updated. So by using DXC, in order to get data to Hana, we need to execute this info package. If the DXC is not enabled, the data goes something like this. From PSA to this data store object. The data store object within the BW gets the data. But now the data store object outside the BW gets the data. That is the difference between DXC and BW. I'm just trying to highlight the difference. When DXC is there, you get the data here. When DXC is not there, you get the data here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm also going to show you the regular process. Please see. So whenever I make a change, the change is available in the DSO. So this table is known as active data table. Why active data table is because whenever the data comes, first the data comes to 40 table. Whenever the data comes to Hana, first the data comes to 40 table. When you execute info package, data comes to 40. From 40, the data is transferred to 00 table. This is known as the active data table. So there is a job that transfers data from 40 to 00. This job is known as activation of data. Activation of data. So this job is responsible to transfer data to BW. So again I want to repeat this entire process. We have the data source in ECC. We can duplicate these data sources to BW. The regular method, when you have a data source in BW, let's forget about Hana for some time. We don't have Hana at all. The customer did not buy Hana. Every day the data is going from ECC to BW. It is going to PSA. Transformation via DTP. Data is going and landing inside the DSO. Data is over here every day. We don't have Hana at all. But today, by seeing the advantage of Hana, customer implemented Hana. When customer implemented Hana, when you have a regular process of transferring data to the BW, Actually, the customers are reporting on this object to generate their reports. To generate their report, customers are actually doing the reporting on this data store object. In order to take advantage of Hana, they install Hana. Hana admin install Hana. Hana admin configure the DXC. To configure DXC, Hana admin go to SM59. SM59. So once he install Hana, what the Hana admin do? He go to the T code SM59. He creates a DXC connection. What is the name of the connection? DXC Hana connection to HDB. Click connection test. Click response body. Hana direct extractor connection DXC service is up and running. Connection is established. From where to where? From the source system to Hana system. What is the connection? HTTP connection. See, establish using SM59. Once the connection is established, in Hana we have schema. Where this data from PSA should go to Hana? To a schema. Like SLT data goes to SLT schema. DXC data go to DXC schema. So what is the name of the schema? Hana admin, you see RS admin table. In this table they give, this is the name of the connection. This is the name of the schema. So once they give this, the connection name and the schema name, once they give this, once you replicate data sources in BW, using the source system, the data source is here. Controlling COPA. This is my data source. I replicated. And you execute the info package. Once you activate the data source, please see again. I'll show this again. I'll just right click and delete this data source. Do you want to delete the data source? Yes. I delete this data source. Once I delete this data source, you see whatever the tables in Hana, when right click on the tables and refresh, you see even the tables are also deleted. So what does this mean? It means that only when you have data source, the tables are created in Hana. If you don't have data source, the tables are deleted. So again, I'll go to, means the tables in HANA are created based on the tables in BW. If you don't activate the data source, you see again I right click, replicate metadata on COPA. I click continue. And select all and only get my data source, which is this is my data source, jet C1 COPA table underscore DS. I'll check this, click continue. Just I want to show only when you activate the data source, only then the tables are available. So what does this mean? Without BW, can you have DXE? DXE cannot work without BW. We need to have BW system because DXE is purely dependent upon the data source concept inside the BW. So that's why for this exercise, we need to understand the flow within the BW. And until data source, if you understand, then we can understand the HANA part. So I double click on the data source, I'll click change, I click activate, I click continue. Now only once you activate, you see, I'm activating this data source. Only once it is active, if you go back again, at the table side, right click and refresh. Only then you can see the tables again. Otherwise we cannot see the tables. Now when I right click on the 00 table, I open data preview. You see the table is empty. There is no data inside the table. Why the table is empty? Because we did not create info package. So right click on the data source, create info package, copy the technical name, give the description and click save. And click schedule and click start. Right click on data source and click manage. Here you have the PSA request. Select the request. Inside the PSA you don't have any data. Click on the HANA Studio. Click on refresh. Now we see data inside the we see data inside HANA system. Now how do you see data inside HANA? This is because we executed the info package, but when the DXE is enabled, the PSA will not get data, but data will land into HANA system. Now on this table, we can start to create analytic views. So I'll go to content, I'll go to the package, I'm going to create new package, DXE, click OK. On this package right click, new, analytic view. I'm creating a new analytic view. I'm giving the name and the description. Click Finish. At the data foundation on the plus icon, copy the table name and click OK. So select the required columns. Selecting the required columns, give the key attribute, validate, activate. So now here you have the DXC. Here you have the DXC view. Now you can data preview. Basically, you can when you see data preview, you can see this BUKRS VV010. Now users can basically generate their own reports. So in this way, you can have business users generating reports directly from the HANA system instead of data going to BW and then from BW generating a report. We can directly generate in HANA itself. The reports are faster because the advantage of moving data to from BW to HANA is the reports are executed very fast. Now previously you're generating the report on the top of the DSO, but now we are generating the report on the top of analytic view. Analytic view is pointing to 00 table. You see here, the analytic view is pointing to 00 table. Until here, any questions, please ask me. We'll see the regular method. First, I wanted to show the regular method, but already DX is enabled for the system. Because the DX is enabled, the data bypass the BW and data moves to HANA. So data is automatically to the HANA. Any questions on this, please let me know. I'll show you the regular method. Tomorrow, I deactivate the DXC. DTP stands for data transfer process. This is the process to transfer data from a data source to data store object. So here we have few questions. I'll read out the questions here. If a company installs the HANA for the first time, how the data process will move to HANA by using DXC? We use BODS. Okay. Now BODS and DXC, what is the difference? BODS is an ETL tool. It is not only used for HANA, it can also be used for several source systems. But HANA is one of the target system. The same way it can use for non-SAP systems also. But DXC can only be used when you have HANA system and BW system. And DXE is only used for data sources. We cannot even use the base tables. We cannot use tables to move to HANA using DXE. We can only use data sources. And that too, these data sources should already be, you're already using in the BW system. In the regular flow, you're not happy because the BW system is on the MS SQL system. BW is sitting on the MS SQL database, slow performance. That is why you wanted to bypass BW. When you want to bypass BW, you implement DXE. When we implement DXE, now data directly moves to HANA, and you can generate reports on HANA rather than generating reports on BW. But still we use BW. So what is the usage of BW in the DXE? It is just a mediator to communicate between ECC and HANA. Like how you have SLT in between ECC and HANA, in DXE we have BW in between. You see, in SLT I execute load, I execute replicate. We are doing this on the SLT system. The same way, in the BW, I'm executing an info package. When I execute the info package, and only then the data is transferred to HANA. So the scope of BW is very, very limited in DXE. It is just that we execute info package and data transfer to HANA. It is only used to initiate the data transfer process. Used to initiate the transfer of data from ECC to HANA with the help of BW. But BW never stores data. It's just to transfer the data. It's just like a broker, a middleware. It's a middleware between ECC and BW. When you're doing the sidecar scenario, if BW is on HANA, then DXE can also be activated? No. In the sidecar scenario, when you have BW on HANA, we cannot use DXE. That's why DXEs can only be implemented when you have BW on the MS SQL system. But when you have BW on HANA, we cannot use DXE. Because directly tables of BW itself in HANA. So in such a scenario, we don't require again DXE to move tables to HANA. Because in the main card scenario, when BW is on HANA, you directly have BW system on HANA. So tables of BW in HANA. But in here, we're moving the tables of BW system to HANA. If I can ask on SLT, how do you partition in SLT? Can we do partition in BODS and DXE? So partition in SLT, if you want to partitioning is nothing but breaking large tables to small tables. So when you break tables to smaller sections, it is easier to read data. That is known as the partition. HANA can do automatic partition of data when doing massively parallel processing. HANA can capable of partitioning the data Inside the HANA on tables, we can partition tables. Next question, what is the difference between RFC and DXC? RFC is only the communication between ECC and BW, where DXC is to transfer data to HANA. So these are the questions we have. What is source CDC? CDC stands for change data capture. You can capture changes based on a source system. For example, now you see I change the company code 500 from 30 to 100. So that's a change. So whenever you make a change in the source system, how this change can be handled in HANA? CDC stands for change, capturing the changes on the source system. Next question, how system will recognize an RFC and a DXC? It is based on the communication method, the type of the connection. The type of the connection for DXC is a HTTP connection. The type of the connection for the ABAP system is an RFC connection. When we have a multi-landscape scenario, next question, when we have a multi-landscape scenario, can we split few source systems to DXC and few remain to BW? Yes, you can do that. You can do a configuration in such a way that you can maintain and data sources relevant for DXC. So you can have both the options. Few data sources can get the data to BW and few data sources can get data to HANA. Both can be maintained. What is the role of HANA admin? Next question. The role of HANA admin is to install SAP HANA system, create configurations like DXC configuration, how we created now, by creating SM59 HTTP connection, by maintaining required parameters in RS admin table, so mainly on the integration part. The integration part will be taken care by HANA administrator. Configuring of DXC and installing of SAP HANA. Next question. Difference between transformation and DTP, because both convey message from one point to another point. A transformation is just like a pipe between the source and the target. You see, it's just like a pipe, means when you want to transfer water from source to target, we require a pipe. The pipe is the transformation, but the water inside the pipe is the data. So DTP is used to transfer the data, nothing but the water. But the establishing of the connection between the source and the target, which is the pipe, is the transformation. The pipe is like a tunnel. The tunnel is the transformation. The tunneling of source and target is the transformation. Data inside the tunnel, or the water inside the tunnel, is what? The DTP initiates the transfer between the source and target. So that is the difference between transformation and DTP. Can we filter data in SLT during the transformation? Yes, we can do that. We have to apply the custom code. The custom code, the other day we seen, we have to see in IUUC underscore REPL underscore content. As the IUUC REPL content, we can maintain the transformation rules to transfer data from source to target. What is the difference between source CDC and target CDC? The source CDC is nothing but to capture changes on the source system. Target CDC is to capture changes in the target. How you would like to capture changes? From the source or target? So if you do it from the source, it is known as source CDC. If you're doing it from target, it is known as the target CDC. Can customers have both BW and HANA database updated simultaneously? Usually they do POC until the system is reliable till the final go live. Yes, you can do both. Customers can choose to move parallelly for both BW and HANA database. This is also possible, and once they think HANA is able to suffice all their requirement and give best benefits for them, then they can slowly, over the time, avoid BW. So next question. How can you check the performance of BW and HANA on the normal BW system? It is the execution time of the report. For example, for the same data, for the same question, how much time it takes on the BW system? How much time it takes on BW and HANA? You can implement something called BW statistics. To see the performance, you can implement the statistics in the BW. Statistics are nothing but to know the reporting time, for the loading time, the performance of the BW. You can implement the BW statistics to understand the statistics of the BW. So these are the questions we have in the chat box. So tomorrow we're going to see the regular method of loading data to BW. Also, we're going to see BW powered by HANA. How BW will be leveraged to complement HANA and how HANA can complement BW. That we see in tomorrow's session. Thank you everyone. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Good morning and good night to everyone. Thank you.